the business and move to the other one. Or sometimes it's because the business is, you just ask yourself, what is moving now? I think that's the word. What are people buying? And then we move in that direction. So usually the problem is not starting. The problem is sustaining. You find out that in most people, the business starts and dies with the person. You understand? And they are for different reasons. During the course of the seminar, we'll try to highlight some of the reasons, but mainly we're going to look at how do you actually structure what you already have to make it something that can outlive you and last many generations. When I was a small, well, not small child, but at least when I was old enough to think about wealth and compare myself with other people who seemingly have parents who have more money or have more means than I am, I said to myself, and I discovered, and I found that to be true, is that in some families, they have more money or they have wealth now because 2-3 generations ago, somebody started the whole journey of wealth creation. You understand? So I just told myself, even as a little boy, that my own job now is to actually take it over from where my parents have started, take it notch further, and then that will now become the beginning of my own generation. So probably then I was thinking probably my children or their grandchildren are now the ones who will now be captains of industry, and then they own everything, and then the name will now become the household name. I thought about that very many years ago, and thank God that that's what we do here. And each and every one of us are actually part of something that we believe can be structured well enough to become a transgenerational business empire. There are a few series, we've watched a few movies about such families, right? So, in fact, they made dramas about family, and then you find out that the father is the head of the business, maybe the wife is chief COO, then the children are on the board heading different divisions, and then they discuss business at the dinner table. And sometimes you find that the son is trying to tell the father that they are holding up, please step aside, I'm the one to take over. It's always it's really interesting. And that's what we're talking, part of it is what we're talking about, where you have a business where every member of the family is proud. In fact, they are struggling and ensuring that they are in the best position to work in that. That kind of business probably is the business that grows, and like the president will tell us, to ensure that your business is always bigger than the children. Because the only way the child would want to work there is that the business is bigger than children. You might start the business even when the child is already 10 or 15 years. But the beautiful thing about business is that it does not necessarily grow chronologically. Like a business that is 5 years could actually be better than the business that has been there for 20 years. Do you understand what I'm saying? How many of us have read Creating a Business That Thrives in Your Absence? I feel that's the beginning of even trying to create a transgenerational business empire. I feel the equation is just business that thrives in your absence, you scale the business, and then you have the right successor. That's probably what we're going to be talking about. So I won't go in depth into how to structure your business so that it thrives in your absence. We've talked about that. We've had seminars about that. We have a book on that. I think that's the most read book for me of Dr. Gbolahan book. So let's get into the meat of the presentation. Now, it said that a vision that ends with you was never big enough. Now, a few years ago, a lot of business coach and mentor started to talk about how do you find purpose? How do you find the business you're supposed to do? We're advised that the business should be along the lines of your passion, of what you like, but we've changed it now. Because sometimes your passion might not be the one to bring the box now. You might actually have to do what works, learn how to do it well enough, have enough capital, then you now decide to follow your passion. Do you understand? Yes, but for every business, there's a vision. I've said many times that what you get out of the business you create is actually a function of the problem it's solving and the number of people it solves that problem for. That's why global businesses solve global problems. And I'd say a lot. Anytime I talk about it, I mention Amazon solving the global distribution problem. Now, that means that for every business we have, the ones we currently run, or the one whose idea we're currently brooding over, there's a vision, there's an idea. If you look at, now, I'm going to be saying this or postulating it after we have seen many years of Dangote's business. If I tell you that Dangote's vision probably is to take care of the basic needs of every member of the community they serve, you agree with me? And why would you agree with me? You look at every product they actually put out there. It solves basic need. Even the current baby of the country. You know that the project is the baby of the country. We're just playing and kidding ourselves. You understand? That also was also created to take care of the basic need. So I'm not him, and for the purpose of this presentation, that is a vision. You understand what I'm trying to say? And that kind of vision is a vision that transcends him. But if he did not structure his business properly, he's still alive. But it could happen that once he's gone from this side of the divide, the vision probably dies with him. So we currently have businesses, or we're thinking of starting businesses that the vision itself is larger than life. The vision is supposed to, and everything we do now, whether we're here or we're no longer here, are problems that we are solving problems that will continually exist. So it's not a function of, it's a problem that you solved and it no longer exists. You understand? Sugar, cement, and all, we always build. We always have to feed, you have to eat. If you're in the healthcare space, if you're in terms of food, real estate, you're thinking of hospitality, name it. You're solving problems that as long as humans will be on the face of the earth, those problems will always exist. That means that if we take a census of what we all do, you already solve a problem that should outlive you. So that means that the issue of the kind of vision is solved already. But if you don't take care of this vision properly, it will actually end with you. Do you get what I'm saying now? So the first thing is this: your vision must be the one that you will ensure that it does not end with you. So whatever you do now, Yoruba has an adage, I'm probably not structured properly, but you talk about the work you're doing is the kind of job you can leave to your children. You understand? Some people have even translated it in their mind. So when we're talking about businesses and then talking about members of 110 Academy, if we're aspiring and we are billionaires, then our businesses should be more about leaving a legacy. Like Peter Stropo says, legacy is not leaving something for people. It's actually leaving something in people. So what I'm trying to say here is that one of the reasons why the vision will probably outlive you is that the vision was burning in your heart, was a burning desire, and then you actually went ahead through different steps to put structure, and then it birthed a business out of the vision. The desire to solve problem bettered the business. That desire continued to carry the business. A lot of us fall in love with what we do. We're in love with, and that drives it. We should be able to translate that desire into the people that we're going to leave behind. Because that's one of the reasons why they also will go along with it. They might not, and to be realistic, they might not have as much passion and desire as you had. But then the ones you can bet in them added to what that business provides. You understand? A child grows up in a family where everything is catered for. They fly anywhere and all that. And grew up to now understand that this business is the one that, even if the desire is not 100%, the desire for the kind of life that business actually provides is also another good reason to ensure that they keep the business alive. So the goal and the things we'll start looking at beyond, and these are some of the things we add to creating the business to thrive in your absence, allowing business to thrive in your absence, is that you are looking at transferring the desire to solve the problem, the joy that comes from achieving that beyond the monetary reward You want to transfer it into the people. And like Dr. Gbolahan, I'm sure you always say, and that's how he structured his business. And that's how we have all been encouraged to structure ours, is that we should not use the people to grow the business. The business should grow the people. And it's a vicious cycle that once the business grows the people will return to do what? To grow the business. Now, this is the question. If you stepped away today, would your business still breathe tomorrow? I've said that in one of the seminars that you should try and calculate and try it. How long can you be away from the business until the point where they start to need you and there's fire on the mountain? Is it 1 day, 2 days, 5 days, 1 week, 5 years, 2 years? That actually tells you how well you have structured your business. And also, if you are the type that you struggle to die while alive. You understand that concept of die while alive? That's so, and because trust is also an issue, and trust is an issue because the kind of people in the organization are not the people that are trustworthy. Then the question now is this: why are they in the organization in the first place? You understand? If anything, maybe the core things they need in the business is locked in the office and the key is with you. So anytime they need to go there, you need to come and open the door. And you know that you have not created a business, you have created a prison. And I'll say this here, and I like to say that, and that's what I say to myself, that anything that I can do that I do in my businesses, that somebody else can do as good as I am, or even near enough, or can be trained to do it, I don't have any business doing it. And naturally, it's an inconvenience when I'm asked to do it, because I know somebody else can do it. Because if you free yourself from the day-to-day operations, you can separate yourself to do more strategic thinking. I'll tell you that even days that I set aside for myself not to go and step into any of my businesses, between 8 a.m. to 12 noon, when I sit down in my study to do strategy and planning, we do a lot. By the time I stand up from that place, we would have gone far, because I come out with a lot of things, and then we can start putting things together. And then sometimes you will find out things that you should have even taken care of in the business, but because you are busy, yes, you are able to plug those holes. And then when you come back, the business actually moves further. And you know, we've learned many times, it's always best to work on the business than to work in the business. So I'll ask again, if you stepped away today, will the business breathe tomorrow? If the answer is no, then there's work to do. The first thing is to get that book, How to Create a Business That Thrives in Absence, and read it over again. If you've read it before, you need to go and read it again. Now, we're talking about the vision behind succession. Now, I'm talking about this. I would also move a bit further. Why would you want a business to succeed you? What are your reasons? And there's so many reasons. But the first thing is this: the business you set up is solving the problem. So the desire to continue to solve the problem is there. But don't kid ourselves. The financial reward of a successful business, you definitely love your children well enough to want them to also enjoy the comfort even at a higher measure than you already did, right? Because we have people that love their children so much that they are abandoning their career and their life to go to another country to start for their children, to start for the kids. I don't want to, people have different reasons, I don't want to enter there, but people earn 7 figures. We're earning 7 figures here, and then I'm banner and say, because you know, for the children. And the question I asked, I have not finished living my life. I have not finished enjoying this life for me to say stop and all. Younger people, yeah, maybe that works. You're just starting off and all. So I know that we love our kids. We love our grandchildren. And those of us that, you know, your parents, that the way they treated you is not the way they're treating your kids now. The parents that will not give you more than 1 meat, you probably give them sweet Coke and all those things, and you have to fight them. So one of the reasons why you need to think about succession is the fact that it's to avoid business debt. When the vision dies with the founder, what happens to the business? The business dies. Where we set up our first hospital, when I got there, and one of the things I do is also to move around, see what happens, visit hospitals around. And at least I walked into 2 hospitals that when you use the size of the hospital will tell you that when the hospitals were functional, they were not small hospitals. But because, and I went there within both hospitals within a year of the owner of the business passing on. The hospital was still running, but was a ghost or a shadow of itself. Even the theater, dust. So you know that they've not even used that theater. But I went there, I was just asking questions like, oh, you're thinking of partnering with me. So they took me around. I could come and operate. And I entered the theater. I was like, no, I can't come here. And the owners died within a year. And see, what will also shock you that they were married to healthcare people. So their wives were either, one was a nurse, I think the other was a physiotherapist. So it's not like they married even those that, but the business was built around them. That was, I was thinking about 10 years ago. They were built around, and once the business, the founder dies, the vision dies, everything dies. The question now is, what are we building? We're not building companies, but what we're doing was building movements of value. I'm trying to create that. See, once I will start talking about how you prepare your successor. One of the things you are preaching to your successor is the value of the business succeeding. We know the financial rewards, the fact that you're even at peace, everybody is fine. But the value. So whatever you're doing currently now, the question is this: why did you start in the first place? What problem are you solving? That's what you're trying to communicate. And then the success of this business, what's the implication of that to everybody, the family, and whoever is part of the succession plan. And then our goal is sustainable impact that outlives us. Our goal should be the way we call some names now. When we cite good examples of industrialists, of billionaires, of people who is making good impacts. Our goal is that our names should be there. A long time ago, people didn't know their names. But in the corner of somewhere, on top of nothing, they started building businesses that is structured such that you definitely will get to the second, third, fourth, and fifth generation. The other advantage also is the fact that for you, at a point, you would cease to be involved actively in the work. Some sort of retirement. Do you understand? Some sort of retirement. You can then step away and have people run the place. You come around, see what's going on, offer your piece of advice, and then you go your own way. Succession planning matters because of one, continuity. We've talked about that over and over, so I will not, of course, and then investor confidence. If you have a business where you have people invest in it, they want to be sure that when you retire or you are no longer actively involved in the business, their investments will continue to yield dividends. You understand? Your customers also need to be able to trust that the brand is maintained. Either you are there or not, or when you hand over to those behind. It prevents collapse during unexpected transitions. Different things can happen. Like I said, the hospital I talked about 10 years ago, the owner died. Wasn't expected. You understand? Different things can, for different reasons. Some people might need to leave the location for other reasons. During those transitions, it prevents collapse. So regardless of who is there, the business continues to run. You begin to understand why I said that this is just a layer on top of creating a business that thrives in your absence. The only thing is that after creating it, then look for successors. Then I talked about this, brand trust and customer loyalty. And then the leadership is fresh and innovative. One of the things I talked about when I was working at Tolu Medical Center, and I said, this is a very brilliant idea. Because what happens is that different doctors at different times and there are different managements at different times. So while I was there, after a while, there was a medical director. After a while, I also became medical director. Then I left and they had other medical directors. You know, the beauty of that thing is that every leader has his own peculiarities. Every leader has their own interests. They have what they know, what they drive well. The way it helps the organization is that for every dispensation, there's a period of growth. So it's like short bursts of growth in different areas of that organization, that when you put everything together, because there's a brilliant mind behind that coordinates everything. Because sometimes Dr. Shodipo will bear me witness. Sometimes we want to do some things like, no, we won't do this one now, we'll do it later. Sometimes, okay, let's go ahead and do this. What we don't know is that he's behind and he's seeing how the different shapes come together to form the collage of the beautiful painting he's trying to paint. Do you understand? That's also another advantage of having this kind of successions, whereby there are different generations. You understand? Those that were born before the 80s, you understand? And those born in the 80s, you believe that there's some similarities. But you see where the difference is, that those born in the 80s probably might be able to relate a little bit with the people that are Gen Zs now, compared to the 70s. We saw the computers, the laptops and all of that. We saw them, and then we're trying to learn the AI now. And the guys, so someone who was born in 70 and started business and is still the one running the business now might struggle to embrace technology as much as when the child who was born in the 90s is taking over the business. Do you get what I'm trying to say? That's another advantage of, so there's innovation, fresh ideas, fresh drive, fresh passion comes into the business. And it's just because of time. I highlighted some, and if you get down, still have time, I might give you an example of some of transnational businesses that evolved, and where they started from and where they are now is not even the same thing. Because they're able to, one of the advantages of succession is that you also remain relevant. And that might come by evolving and adapting to the times and the seasons we're in. What are the 5 realities that make succession urgent? At what point do we realize that it is imminent to start to put structures together that's for succession planning? One, we've been saying this, the entire organization is founder dependent. We cannot buy toilet roll without the approval. Mrs. Ogunto is laughing because it's funny. I know, okay, we're live streaming. Let me say I can change the story small. But there was a time that I know someone that he comes in the night when the cashiers are going to close, because he's the one that collects the money. So wherever he is, every day without fail, he comes in the night. He will sit down in the reception. Sometimes he lie down in the reception. You don't even know he's the owner. He's waiting for them to close to collect the money. Or some is one that will have to open where all the utilities are and count it and for them. So that's even mundane. That's even basic. When it even comes to customer have some issues and needs to be resolved, and it's dependent on the founder to solve it all the time, it's a problem. You know what that will lead to? Leadership fatigue, because you will get tired. Sometimes it leads to frustration. In fact, it's one of the reasons why, and what I wanted to say this earlier, one of the reasons why we grew up and a lot of people started businesses and they could not sustain is that first, they are in love with the business. They fall in love with the business, so they drive the business. But then life happens, they now fall in life. Once they fall into life, that's the end. So one of the things that cause fatigue is when for as many of us, when you make a lot of decisions every day, if you start in the morning, if you have meetings, the days you've had meetings, where there are a lot of conversations, and by the time it's midday, you are tired. In fact, any conversation after that, for me, for that days where I have meetings, and if you have anything you want to discuss with me, maybe my meeting starts at 9, come before 9, let's have. Once I'm done with the meeting, anything you're saying, and they know it, I'm just nodding. It's until maybe later in that day, I'll say, what were you talking about? Because my brain is done for that day. And then you're advised, don't even make any decision during those times. You get what I'm trying to say? So when it's dependent on the founder expends energy, mental energy, physical energy, there's leadership fatigue. It starts to make mistakes, starts to make the wrong decisions, and then the business also starts to fail. Poor governance structures. the chain of command is not clearly defined. The president has talked to us many times, even at some of our business summits, the importance of having an organogram and working that organogram. You understand? Every member, every level of that organogram, people know their reporting lines, and then they have their job descriptions. And then you probably communicate that to them and ensure they work along those lines. So the sanitary department have a supervisor, but they are coming to you to ask about questions or things that the supervisor should be able to answer, and you are still wasting your time at responding to them. A long time ago, we're having those issues. The next thing I would say, or the head of admin would say, that have you discussed with your supervisor? They say that go and call your supervisor. Then we now sit down, repeat what you just said. Then the supervisor is wondering why you didn't. You know, sometimes some people are. But one thing is this: you still listen, because especially we ask someone, they say they've told the supervisor, but they have not done anything. Like actively, when we have meetings, we inform that, okay, if you inform your supervisor, because supervisor has a member of management that supervises that department. So if you've asked and you're not getting the response, then you meet the member of management that is in charge of that. For us, it's very simple. Our management is divided into two: the support and the medical team. You know, those who sits at the top of that and all of that. And then the structure is all the way. So there are at least 3 levels before some of those things get me. And you know the truth, they never get to me because they solve those problems. Because if it gets to me, then I have a problem with the person who, at least the person who should solve it before it gets to me. And I'm asking. So if it's a problem of not knowing what to do, training, or probably just explaining what to do, then we'll do that. Then we also look at generational gaps. And I was mentioning that you can look at, you started business in the 70s, and now the business is in 2025, where everybody's talking about AI. When you started, you probably did not do so much with technology at the time, but now we're at a level at which technology is far advanced, and AI is actually in every sphere of our business. Whatever you're doing, you probably should be checking out how AI can enhance what you're doing. Because in the age we're in now, we're no longer in the knowledge age. I think that age is past. Because if anybody comes and gives you knowledge, you can get knowledge. It's very easy now. So it's not the knowledge age. It's where we're looking at putting structure around it and applying it correctly. And that's the areas you should look at. What do I need to learn to understand how to apply artificial intelligence to enhance my business? You know that with AI, you probably can get data about organizations that you wouldn't have known where to get it from. You can study your competitors more now without leaving the comfort of your room. If any information about them is online, artificial intelligence is able to sift out those information and present it to you. If you could just go even try, okay, what are the regulatory compliances in my industry? It probably will tell you what you don't even know now that's important you should get, a license or whatever. It probably will tell you. And that's what AI does. And I talked about areas of unplanned transitions too, makes it imminent. In fact, sometimes when these things happen, it's almost like it's already late. But then, at that point, you need a successor. And the question now is that you might be lucky to just get someone and the person works or clicks for you. But then you should have been planning for it long before you get to any of these things. And like we know, if your business thrives in your absence, you won't have a problem with this, you won't have a problem with this. You definitely you will be good with this for it to be able to, for it to thrive in your absence. So what I'm adding to this is beyond the fact that you have your processes, you have your structure, everybody works. The line of governance too must be clear. Decision making must actually be clear. And sometimes for me, even when things happen and I want to take a decision, there are times I just take a step back and ask the person who would have done that if I was not in the room at the time, that what would you do in this situation? You understand? What would you have done? And then I'll listen to him or her, and then I'll add my 2 kobo and we'll follow it. But then I would, because that in that situation, I'm showing that I trust him or I trust her to make those decisions. And if I feel I need to add anything, and we should be careful. You don't, even if the person is saying what is totally off, sometimes you have to be diplomatic in how you actually help them to restructure it to fit into what they should do. And then you say, next time you can look at it this way or that way, and then because you're not correcting all that major correction in front of their subordinates. Yeah. For succeed, if your business is going to be transgenerational, it must outlive you. So how do we start to ensure it outlives us? First thing is you have to document your why. The entire process of desire, passion, discovering the problems you want to solve, how you solve it, the reason behind it, you should document it. Because that's one of the things you have to start. You want to recreate that. You want to pass that like you are breathing into your successor, your why. You want to translate that personal vision into corporate vision. I would use, like I said, and I'm putting the caveat that I'm not in the mind of Dangote, and I don't know why, but probably while growing up, you probably must have seen, and that is very easy. Everywhere around us, people that they lack their basic needs, basic amenities. You understand? And they probably have seen that there's treasure in this thing. But first, let me solve. How can I ensure that I can solve this problem? It didn't mean that there were no industry solving them. And let me say some things I've been brooding on recently here is that sometimes your business it's not necessarily the new business. The business that people are doing well. That business, I think Walmart is copy. Do you understand? They travel a lot, and whenever they travel, it said that anywhere they go to, he enters every supermarket. He might not even buy anything, but he's looking at it. And when he goes, he will copy a part of that, kept it. He will go. So he copied intelligently. So somebody might start something, and we've seen it in tech now. There are different apps, there are different solutions. But the solutions that might be making the most impact and also making the most returns probably was not the first solution. What are we saying? Computer. We say a lot about Microsoft, but Microsoft was not the first. You have the days of IBM and all those big computers, but someone thought about the fact that we can put this computer in every home, and they start talking about desktop. And while we're still with Microsoft, Apple came and said, okay, yes, you've done this, but we want to create our own for a particular class of people. We want to marry art and technology together. And that's how Apple was formed. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So, and probably almost everybody is doing something somebody else has done before. So there's really no problem copying what somebody else has done. But the thing is, what led me into that? Okay, I was talking about this. So he looked at, okay, personal, somebody else is doing it, but I can do it better. And then he started it. And then see where he is today. Now, it's even easier to convince the next generation when you are succeeding. Do you understand? I'm sure he doesn't have to convince his daughters and his family members to be part of this business, because this business is even so big that other generations are in the business. So the job is, what is your why? Document it. What's your personal vision? Your reason for starting this? Your story. Document it. Then convert it into a corporate mission. So it's part of your mission statement. I'm sure if you Google and check the mission statement for Dangote, you will see something about catering for the basic needs of people. You probably will see something about industrialization, because it's part of the things they are doing currently. And then all this now creates a legacy playbook. So it's like you say you have your wheel, or you're having the manual for what you're doing. And right in the manual, beyond this is how we run the business, we start from why we're doing the business, what we're trying to achieve. Because as the business transcends from one generation to another generation, they might start producing something else. But you find out that everything they're still doing is still trying to achieve the corporate mission. So let's say, for example, if, of course, the Dangote group now, I believe, are either in their second generation or already transiting to their second generation. I feel that if not because of the baby of the nation, you probably won't be seeing him the way you are seeing him now. You know that. You've seen him more in the last 1 year than you've seen him your entire life. Am I lying? You also know that as being a leader, the stakes are very high. When you're talking about a $20 billion investment, the stakes are higher. And as a leader, it's taking point. But I'm sure that once all of these things sorted out, what happens? It fades into the background. So I'm sure that currently they are working out their succession plan, even for talking about the refineries and all. So again, what's your legacy playbook? You start with your why, then translate to a vision and mission, and then of course you create it into, because that's what you pass on to the next guy. Yes. Before you bring in a successor, you don't bring a successor into a house that is in chaos. You have to structure your business. So you structure before your successor. And I've said so many times today, a business that depends on your presence is a job, is not a legacy. So before you bring in someone to, okay, I want to hand over this to you, it should be able to run in spite of, as in outside of you. So you structure it, and we talked about those structures. The simplest thing I can give you take home is have your organogram, know every members at every level and how they flow. The flow of command, the reporting lines, the decision makers, their job descriptions, have them clearly written out. And then the processes that determine how you interact with your customers, how you create your product, and then how you solve the problem. Build governance frameworks. That's what I've just been talking about. Policies and accountability. So the decision makers, the final decision makers, those that can make decisions at what level, and then what are your policies concerning different things? Because you know one of the things about business is because it has to do with human beings, there are questions every day. There's somebody who wants to ask you about something. There's someone who is not showing up at work. There's someone who has a family emergency. Then the question, what do we do when this thing happens? If your business, the decision concerning most of these things, however mundane they are, if they are dependent on your emotions and you don't have a playbook concerning them, then you've not built a proper governance structure. You understand what I'm trying to say? So someone, for lack of a better thing, wastes some of your products today, and then your response is, oh, don't worry, it's a mistake, next time don't do it, because you're in a good mood. You just made $1 million. So nothing can touch you. And then tomorrow, sales things are tight, and someone breaks some things, and then you say that you have to pay for it. That's not proper. You have to be consistent. So you actually have policies that you follow, and then accountability. Because there's no way, when you hand over things to people, they actually have to be accountable, and there should be a line of accountability. Because we also know that people might not be their best self every day. So who holds them accountable? Who is responsible? Then, of course, automate and delegate key operations. The business thriving in your absence is also, most of your operations are automated. They know what to do everything is set. The front desk person knows what to do once the customer comes in, registering them, where to move them on to, and all of that. Automate where you buy your raw materials from is automated. And when we talk about automate, you don't talk about automate these days without talking about technology. You understand? Without talking about technology. And I think, I don't know, at some point, we also have to ask ourselves, what technology are we adopting in our business? And it will amaze you that, I don't know, it's just a thought coming up now, so maybe I should still think more about it. But I feel that you might even have people in the room who have access to technology that can help your business that you just might not know. So I think we should also go back to the point that when we want to maybe give comments or ask questions, we should state the business we're running. So it's a way of getting to know what other people do, and then we can also help them or connect or collaborate and then do things together. So identifying and grooming your successor. Now, the question would be, who should be your successor? Now, when we say transgenerational family business, we can consider members of your family. I feel that under standard temperature and pressure, your family should have your best interest. But then we're talking about human beings. You don't follow standard temperature and pressure. But standard, you actually talk about your family members. But we also know that there should be a marriage of both bringing in your family members and also having those who have proven themselves in the business, who know how to run the business, to probably be members of your board or actually hold particular, like businesses that we talk about now. It's not just the family members that are there, there are other people qualified to run the business. Because at the end of the day, the business is to succeed. You understand? It's not just about family. But the beauty of it is that, especially if you start your business early enough, you can train the child the way it should go. So that when he's old, he will not depart from it. That's the advantage of that. And we find that happen. In fact, we're having that a lot now, but we find that a lot amongst the Jews. Even the Westerners. That's why you find that sometimes some of them, like even in politics, there's a family that they train themselves in politics, like the Bush family, and everybody is in politics, doing one thing or the other. Some people train themselves in different areas like that. But you can now, so your successor could be a member of your family. It probably might not even be a member of the family, but you should be able to identify a potential successor early in the business. This probably some people have questions, especially in these days of they work for you after 1 or 2 years, you don't see them again. And so we go back to the safer option, probably is also still the member of your family. If you do it right, they are not going anywhere. If you do it right, probably not. So you start training them early. And when we talk about family members, it's also important that the business and the family interact. They, like the president will say, they look at each other. As they are growing from age 10 to 15, and the business also growing, they interact with each other. And then when they get to an age where they can work, even as an intern or be a shadow to somebody else, they start doing that from their school days. So they already understand to some extent, oh, there's this business we're working on and all of that. And then if you do so well in business, that the business, like I said, caters for most of the basic needs, or even what is after we say basic, what's next? The luxuries. Do you understand? You understand? And that is the business. And they know it is the business that's catering for them, that there should be some form of loyalty to the business to ensure that the business would continue. Do you understand? So you identify your successor early and you start to mentor them intentionally. And I think one of the things is also to start understanding the kind of person they are. You want to see how well devoted they are to personal development. Because we don't know the questions that would arise in the future. But if we keep developing ourselves, we probably will have the tools to solve those problems. And then so you start to mentor them intentionally. Transfer of the wisdom, the mission statement, the why, the vision. Start it. So you are transferring the wisdom, not just authority. In fact, I always believe that you transfer the wisdom first before authority comes. That's why even the case of maybe children and all, they start from down. So they are working with the receptionist, even though they are not going to end up working at the front desk. But from the receptionist, that's the front end. They see the customer comes, they see the interaction. Then they go to the back end and see what is going on there. I know we watch some of those movies that you find out that there is maybe one of the children that is the most unlikely to take over from the father. But because they despise the child and have been pushing the child to work with in all those areas nobody wants to go to. So he has interacted with all the low-level staff so that he understands their problem. And then you see at the end, he becomes the CEO because he's the best tutor. He has seen everything going on in the business. Because you start your business a few years after, most of your interaction might be with the top guys. You might really not know what is going on with the low-level guys. The managers are the ones interacting with them. So it's gone around there. So when he comes, then he goes, he's still going to school, he's still learning. When he comes back with all the qualifications and all, he has both the academic knowledge and also the experiential knowledge, because it's been part of the business. And it's not just part of the business, it's still as it goes into the business, you are still mentoring him or her. So you train for competence and character. We've talked so many times about character and how important it is. So competence is also important. Whoever is going to take over is not only good trained in terms of character, but also in terms of competence. And then going through the business also is one of the ways they can learn that. And then you can start before you hand over. Shadow leadership, questions. They go with you for meetings. They listen to when things come. When you guys in the comfort, you're like, okay, so if you're the one, what would you do? Or do you know why I said this? Do you know? You understand those kind of things? The more I talk about this, the more Lion King is coming to my mind, and I don't know why. I'm trying to push it down. It's still coming up to look, so don't let's go into that. But these are basic steps in actually training your successor. Because if he's going to take over, you also have to create a safe environment in which you are testing him or her to see what they will do. And then also tell them, okay, next time this is what you do and that. What about financial ownership and planning? You want to separate the ownership. So if even when you hand over, and I'll still say this, long before you could probably start handing over the running of the organization, I feel one of the things you probably might hand over much later is financial ownership. And maybe because of some of the stories, now this is not movies, where you found children bouncing, instituting a takeover from their parents, both of the organization and the financial ownership. If business is structured properly, like I said, under normal conditions, you shouldn't have children that want to do that. But we're not even talking about children. They're even handing over to other people. There actually has to be structure, a separation of the management and that of the financial structure of the business. That would be my piece of advice. In fact, there's really no need because your successor should succeed in your presence. You understand? We're not talking about you hand over to the next generation when you are no more. Then in your will, you now say, so now that if you are reading this will, that means I've gone to the world beyond. So this organization, no, your successor should succeed while in your presence, but you should still be in control of the money. It's still your sweat, is it not? So you create clarity. Of course, through wills you can create clarity, and this one then you surrender this, of course, after you're no more. So it's clear. So it's not like when you leave, then the issue about money becomes a problem. Someone's talking to me a few days, lost their grandmother, who is the last surviving, and then the children are now, what do you want to carry? And after they said everything you want to carry, then somebody came with thugs and carried everything that was there. Just to avoid those kind of things. Of course, now that the owner is no more, through wills, creating trust. You understand? For the kids, the ones that are younger and all of that. And then, of course, the family constitution. That way, then it's clearly separated and people can know what belongs to who and all that. And then, of course, also, when you properly plan this, also helps secure funding. You understand? We have businesses that are big enough that sometimes they actually need funding, sometimes to scale or to take up some projects. If you have a good financial structure, whoever is going to give money wants to see how you are taking care of your own money. You understand? And then, of course, I don't think we should be talking about the fact that your money and the business money is the same, they're in the same place. That's a long thing. They shouldn't even mix together. Sometimes when I want to do some things, and maybe recently I wanted to do something, I tell my friend that, okay, I'll get it when I get my salary. So every time I see it, he's always laughing. I say, but that's the truth. The business pays salary. Is that salary that I spend within my means of what I'm being paid? It has to be separate. Not the business one buying everything, food stuff for the house and all those things. So that is not what we're talking about. That even the money, as the money come in and you spend the income, the cash flow and all of that, there's a proper structure and proper planning so that when it's time to secure funding, it won't be a problem. And that helps for governance and even longevity of the business, because You probably might be able to secure, based on maybe relationship with government and all, them can secure different things with the government. When you are no more, your influence really is not there anymore. What would actually work is how you have structured the business. So what are culture and values for transfer? You want to codify the company's DNA. Basically, you want to look at how the business runs. Even talking about decisions being made, how people are treated. How, we say that your business is an extension of yourself. So if you are no longer there and somebody else comes there, you want to create like a code of conduct, culture, whatever you want to call it, so that even though you are no longer there, the business still behaves the same way, and it's just not necessarily taking the form of the new guy. Such people will not say, this business is usually like this, but it's no longer that way because the owner is not there anymore. How do you do that? It's also depends also on how you have structured your business before handing it over. The business must look like what you want it to look like before handing it over, and then whoever you are passing it on to must have been mentored properly to maintain the culture and the values of the organization. Now, we say that the success of a leader is not really in the period of his leadership, but the success of his successor. How many of you have heard that? We used to say that a lot in university. Now, we were heads of different organizations. So the true test of how well you led, we used to say, I've never even checked again to know how real that thing was, but it was a big thing for us. So it makes us, when you want to choose your successor, you are really careful about your successor. And even when you hand over to the person, you are still around to ensure that the person is doing the right thing, especially if it's not the year you leave school. You are still in the university, because the new people, they'll be coming to your room to tell you the person you handed over to, this is what the person is doing and all of that. So it's important, actually, to recreate yourself in whoever is coming after. When I mean yourself that has to do with the success of the organization. And then, of course, you teach values deliberately. We've talked about this. Mentorship. Storytelling is a powerful way of also transferring values. Stories of things that happened during businesses, the steps and decisions made, and then the implications or the outcomes of those decisions. Now, the builder's mindsets. The CEO, the founder who actually executes what we are talking about. Let's look a journey into their mind, what the mind looks like. One, their plan. They plan what? Decades ahead. I'll bet you that a good number of us have thought more about our business in decades in this meeting than probably we've talked about that in the last 1 month or 2 months. Because sometimes when you have issues to deal with every day, sometimes it's difficult to, but it's important to step back and look at, when you talk about visioning of your business, vision boards and all that, how is your business in the next 20 years, 30 years, 40 years? What will your business be doing at that point? That's the mindset of someone who's a transgenerational builder. Because he knows that in 40 years, he probably is not going to be actively working on the business, but he has a vision of what the business should be like, the size of the business, and what problems probably they are solving. They invest in people, not just products. So they are the kind of people that they are always looking to make the people working with them better. Not everybody likes sports, but one thing coaches do is to improve their athletes. Either they are coaching a football team, a basketball team, those that run, there's a general name I'm trying to remember. It's not coming to me now. So whatever sports, a coach's job is to make the person better. Now, probably Usain Bolt would run maybe 9.8 seconds this year. But working with a coach, with a trainer, the next time they are coming to Olympics might be doing 9 seconds. It's the same guy. He's even grown older, but somebody has studied all it takes to ensure that you run faster than you did the last time. And that's the job of a transgenerational builder's mindset. The fact that we are looking to invest in the people. And I've said that quite a number of times there. Our goal should always be that those that work with us, those that work for us, should get more than just their monthly wages. They should be able to show that the money they get at the end of the month is the least value they get from working with you. They should be able to say that after 6 months, 1 year of working with this person, working in this organization, I'm a changed person and I'm changed for the better. That means beyond you trying to teach them, the structure of organization should ensure that they get better. And the good thing is that if they continue to get better, they remain in the organization. If they don't get better, the business will outgrow their relevance, and then they have to find their way somewhere else. That's why you find that somebody leaves a particular organization and they are now superstar in another organization. It's one of two things. Either they were a square peg in the round hole here, so they're in the wrong place. It could be that. And now they're in the right place. Or the level of that place is not as much as where they left. So even though they are not pulling their weight here, they can be superstar somewhere else. So their living does not mean you've done an injustice. It's just that your business has outgrown them. And one of the things I tell people that work with me is that I've been saying it for over 10 years, that the reason why I say do this, read this, get better is I don't want a point in time where I have to say that we've been together, you serve very well, but the truth is this: you can no longer, that even you know that you can't deliver again. We've gone past you. And that's why I ensure that they actually get better. And I enforce it like fight, but we don't fight anymore. Thank God, 2020, from 2024, everybody was a lot of fight for many years, but everybody has accepted that this man is like this. We have to follow him. And then it's amazing that people that before I was like, this person ever really, and when I come and I sit down at their presentations, I'm really proud of the woman and the man they've become. And it's just because of little learning every day. One of the things we do is our stand-up meetings in the morning. We have meetings every morning. And for 5 minutes, one of them will teach us something. There's roster. So at the beginning of the month, they all have they've seen it, and they go up, and God always helps them when I'm around, like I was around this morning. And the person tried small. But once I'm around, I correct them. And then they go and they represent again. So they prioritize governance over convenience. Because you know there are times you've had to make a decision that you did not like. But you know that it was the right decision. Because most times when you make decisions, you're setting, especially the first time you're making that decision, you're setting a precedence. Just the way the lawyers will quote in the court of law, your employees will quote either in your presence or in your absence. That is like there's preferential treatment. That this kind of offense, they will just say, come, don't do it again. But why are they saying that? You should go and write letter. Because they know what you did the last time when it happened. So sometimes your decisions are not convenient, but you have to prioritize governance, following your governance structure rather than convenience. And then they build for continuity, not applause. So you're not playing to the gallery. We're not seeking the approval of the masses. We're more like, what do we need to do to ensure the continuity of this business? So sometimes maybe the person who you even felt should be taking the reins not doing very well. I'm just going back to some of those movies. You might feel it's the first son. You now find out that it's even your daughter that you not even reckon with. You understand? Might be the right person. If you look at that person, she will ensure continuity. You probably do it because your wife will come and cry in your ears in the night. That why do you take it away from our favorite son and you're taking to the daughter? It's not about the applause. I'm just using family. It's not just even the family, even the board. I mean, I feel that, oh, this guy has been there for many years. But you spotted a diamond in the rough. And you found that this lady is doing very well. And you've been watching closely and you realize this person is probably will ensure the success of the business. You probably hand over to the person than give to the guy. So I've said a lot of things. What are the practical steps for you to start now? Write your vision and values. I think this is something, a slide we should all look at and sit down with. You write your vision and values. I've talked about them, your why, your vision statement, converting to your corporate mission statement. Identify what are the key leadership roles. When we look at ourselves, we know those things about us that ensure the success of our businesses. I know some aspect of yourself that you're even still working on. That is one of the reasons why there's a drawback. And it's the reason why you probably have employed somebody else who is stronger in those areas to complement you. So you know those leadership roles, identify them, then you then spot your successor and you start to groom them. A day at a time, a day at a time. Wherever you're grooming on day one, you will not say you're my successor, right? You start to groom. Sometimes you start grooming 2-3 people self. You start to work with them, and gradually you select the person who probably will just take over. And then during transitions too, transitions period, you should have a board, or an advisory team who actually oversees. You could even be a member of the board. You could not, probably might not even be a member of the board, but there's a board. They're like stewards to then guide these transitions and guide the next set of people that are taking over, or probably even run for a period of time till the successor actually is strong and matured enough, or knowledgeable enough, competence, character, all of that to take over. Your core systems, you document them. We'll talk about this also comes to play when you're creating business that are scalable, businesses that thrives in your absence. What are the legal and financial documents? Financial is back here. So the legal framework, because whatever you're doing, there actually be a legal backing to all these things. Probably Mrs. Carson is here. She's a lawyer. She might say a few things about this part and all that when we're done. So you have advance notice. Then, of course, begin mentoring and delegation. Mentoring and delegation. Delegation should be a part of our life. When we run our business, delegation, you're watching. You're always watching. In fact, there was a time I used to wonder, because I visit Dr. Lamitoye quite a bit, and I'm opportunity to also be like a fly on the wall as I watch what goes on in the business. And over time, I always wonder that how come, I might see a particular person today, and 2-3 years, person is heading one of them, doing one thing and all that. And I told myself, why are you wondering? Is there? Go and ask him the question, and I asked him, answer, and I even talked about that too. And that is one of the things is delegation. And then the business is structured such that people, they are growing, people, as they are growing, is watching. As they are growing, the members of the board, people who are in authority are also watching. And then, once you have it, it will show. And then they're able to, with delegation, they start to separate people and say, okay, this person actually has leadership qualities. When the opportunity arises to get someone to be head somewhere, then they can then move the person there. Okay, so this is like a bot. So I was trying to pick out a few organizations that have lasted a few generations. And then I want to look at the key patterns that ensure that they actually thrived. I studied about 7 of them, but I just said, let me put 3 here. This is Ford Motor Company, USA. It was founded 1903, and then they're in their 5th generation. And one of the things they work to, there's a strong family involvement in their own organization. You have the Tata Group in India, 1868. There are 5 generations strong now. And this is the founder of that. And then Walmart, USA. Walmart was founded in 1962. Sam Walton was the guy that kept going. And now they're in their 3rd generation. Dangote is not there. Okay, probably it's not showing up. Dangote I believe, is in the 2nd generation. Our own guy is there. So, and then look at the things, the top, I think 7 things that we found out from the research that ensure these 7, there's 7 of them. I just shared the entire 7. One is strong core values. They have strong core values and vision. They have a purpose that transcends just profit. Profit is a byproduct of that. They focus so much on that purpose, and then they run, and of course, business success. What happens? The financial rewards are there. Then structured succession planning, early grooming of next generation. This is what I actually advise. To start grooming early the next generation of leaders. Innovation and adaptability. There's constant evolution to meet new market realities. So some of them start with, now, Ford, they had to contend with creating cars from horses and all those things. And now they're already in looking at electric vehicles. So there's evolution over time. The current marketing reality, we already know what's happening now. I feel like 2-3 years, we're going to be having more electric cars than we have currently now. You understand? You know, when we say electric car, most times we talk about Tesla, right? But right now, you know that there's BYD, China has taken over, and you'll be shocked. Some of those cars are cheap. They're not as expensive as we would think they are. And so you know that in a few years, you're going to have more electric cars, and you see more charging stations everywhere. So professionalization of, now there's a balance of family ownership and corporate governance. It's some of these organizations, a good number of them, it's not purely family ownership anymore. You know that. So there's corporate, you have the board, you have people that actually help to run this. So when we talk about transgenerational family business empire, it's still a family business, not necessarily run by members of the family, except by the time you are going so many generations. But the family still gets, of course, they still have their ownership. So mentorship is back here. Education and mentorship. There's investment in leadership training for successors. We actually need to invest in training. Wherever it's succeeding, there has to be an investment in training. In fact, people that work at different levels of our organization, there should be investment in training. So one of the ways coaches will improve athletes was what I was trying to remember earlier, is by training. You understand? Whatever sports you play, by training, you get better. Sometimes they change their diets. You understand? So sometimes you encourage people that work with you. It's not everything they consume. Not food, physical food now. Information. You understand? It's not every time that it's social media. If they're on the internet, are they consuming information that is beneficial to their work? The question is this, and probably we're live, if any of them, because I've just thought of the next question to ask my people. They tell me 4 or 5 things they did in October, or they read or they learned that improved their work in the organization. You can also do that. That's my own work. I'll probably send it when I leave here now. So they'll send it and I should see it. You know, the advantage of asking those questions, they probably might not have even done up to 4 or 5. But now you have brought their consciousness to the fact that there should be 4 or 5 things they should do every month, or they should learn every month that should improve their work in the organization. And if they start to imbibe that every month, even by January, they would enter the new year a different person, a much more improved person. Then, of course, diversification, expanding into new industries and markets. You find out the fact that we are in cement, you must stick to cement. That's not what happens. They actually they diversify into different industries. There's the importance of having multiple streams of income, and the fact that whatever they go into, they are still able to tie it to the core vision of the business. And then legacy preservation, and that's maintaining the family name, reputation, and integrity. So a brief moment of reflection. I ask these questions to everybody. You answer it silently, and you can still go back and think about them. If your business were a tree, what roots are you planting for it to survive the next storm? How much tap roots is it having to withstand the next storm? Who is learning to water it when you are gone? And then I put this quote here. The true measure of business success is not how much it grows in one lifetime, but how long it continues to create value across generations. So that's the true test of what we are building now. Yes, for us, what we are working towards is how well it grows now, right? Because it answers our own questions, supplies our own needs and that of people around us. But what we are saying today that is no longer the focus. That is important. But for how long will it continue to create value across generations to come? This is the legacy challenge. Don't just build wealth. Build what? Continuity. You are not successful until your absence doesn't stop progress. Don't consider yourself a success if your absence stops progress. So you are not, and the best way to test it is to test it now. You understand? So when I said, because I used to do it years ago, I'll stay away. I'll see one, because then Dr. Lamte said you should not be doing this. I cannot just, maybe you have done, you have done it. But you know how someone have done it. Say once you have done all of this, like someone who has made jollof rice many times. You know, if you pour it, this quantity of salt, just leave it, let it simmer, it is okay. But you that you have not done it before, if you put maggi, you taste. You put salt, you taste. You put water, it's not. You understand? I'll stay away. It will be 1 or 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, I do 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. That's how I was doing it until now. Okay, now. And when I move away and the thing is shaking, I find out where is the problem. Then we'll come back and solve it. So it's something we can start to do now. Legacy is not an event, it's a daily decision. So it's something we're doing every day. So what are we doing today to ensure that we're working on our succession plan? Start your succession journey now. Build with posterity in mind. Your name should become a movement, not just a memory. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. We can sit down. Thank you. So I don't know if you have questions. Anybody with questions or okay.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
I was supposed to have it.
Oh, okay.
I just removed my sugar because I said that was the head. Thank you. When I was listening, you can see where I was thinking. Two examples came to my mind. I remember my family, from my mother's side. My great grandmother had the canteen. My grandmother had the canteen. My mom had the canteen. So my mom, at the highest age, taught us how to do canteen. I think around the age of 11, 12, I've been handling my own canteen, and it was a big one, university. So I now realize that despite their illiteracy, that this great grandmother was to the extent that my mom taught us that how you must manage to buy one Congo of rice, you must be able to feed yourself and be able to sell and make profits. So she taught us all these things. And when I started business, I called my children and I just told them. And what really happened was that, when something happened, who are making suggestions that maybe they should travel out to go and something like that. I called them and said, I told them that first, you must know that your first decision are not going to travel. We are not even going to government or private university. And then by the time you finish your first degree, just tell me one of the 3 best universities in the world. I said, by the grace of God, God will help you. Then I want you to get 2 certificates in mind. Well, you must get academic certificate and life certificate. And that's why I not go to any government or private university. So I now realize that and I got this from our mentor long ago. He said something that somebody asked question in this direction, and he was saying that he was having challenges with the hospital because the children didn't know what happened. And our mentor said something. He said we should not use our children to build the business. That we should use the business to build our children. That's what we need them to come back, irrespective of wherever they go. And I was trying to do, and I said, and I realized that my children really like, and they always tell their children, their friends, that I'm going to study pharmacy. Say medicine. Said, no, I'm not going to study medicine. I said, why? He said, because the marketing ability, I cannot really express it very well if I study medicine. Like the only thing I can have is to have for picture. So then I'm going to study. That's what I want to do. He will always tell you at the time. The second example that came to my mind was about the information. So somebody told me I was just doing research on the companies in Nigeria. He said one thing that man did was when he was about to do, he had about the information. And about the information handles everything down, including punch, all the real estate, all the market. And to the extent that any child that they give back to in that family, it has already been written that they will always be connected to that way, and that is what has been helping. And also the former Oba of the family, I was so that the man lives in such a way that the generation after they cannot be there. And so I think just those two things in my life, I really want to appreciate you for this.
Thank you.
I just have a suggestion. I think we should watch what Oyedepo is doing. It might be another example for us to national Oyedepo. I think we should watch. I mean, all of us are senior, we can see them from him, but I think that man is something for something for the champion. Because that thing has very hard in Africa. Especially if you see examples that come to mind, like what happened, especially when you brought an example, you want this child, your wife wants this child. I would have loved probably when there's because we're still in the early stage of the marriage. I think I would have loved people that are like our guys in here that they married for 40 years and they cannot work women. How do you treat them? Because those things are very important. Look at what happened to that one. So just a decision they couldn't make it right. But my question is, I have my children and sisters, and how do you mentor them? How do you outsource the mentorship to another person mentored by, because the method I'm using now is I mentor my local brother. So my local brother seems to be closer to my son, my first son, than myself. It's my daughter that we're very close. That one is easy for me. My boy is not. It's not easy for me at all. Anytime I tell this, say that I know what you're going. You have told me what I'm going to say. So because that, I try to reduce talking because I don't want to be as if I'm dragging it. So what I use my younger brother. My younger brother say, boy, your boy is coming for holiday. These are the things you will discuss. And give me back in life. And sometimes my brother will say something different from what I think about my son. And say, that boy is, if you think your boy is this. So I would like to hear from people that know better. Should we just mentor those boys looking and watching, or do we, how active are you that you are not overwhelmed, especially the generation of now? You don't want to be them, you don't want to use your own personal ambition to destroy their own. I don't know whether you got the question.
Yeah, the question is it for me or
for anybody?
So any takers? Okay. Let's give Mrs. Oguto. Good afternoon.
As parents, sometimes we should be able to look at children are different. You can't expect every child to be like you. Watch their character, watch their traits. Also, model. There's some children that when they see as if they are pushing things down their throats, they will sort of but sometimes when you're doing your own thing, they're watching. They're actually watching. They might not seem interested initially, but later you might just find out. I have an example. I have an aunt. She was a caterer in the army, and she retired as a lieutenant colonel in the army, and she started her business. We kept on telling the children, do this thing now, take off your mom's business because it was really good. So a lot of us were upset. They're all professionals. All the children are professionals. And later, one that the last one that we were not even looking at, we thought it was the second that would take over that business. Suddenly, she said, this insurance something was actually working with an company, insurance thing. She took over the business, I think just before we lost her mom. And she's doing so well now. I'm always telling her I'm so proud of you. She's doing fantastically well now. And she was not someone that we thought would take over. But she was watching and she eased into it. So don't stress yourself over that. Just continue what you're doing. Continue what you're doing, they're watching you. But also realize that each child is different. I have one that is artistic, is into creative, whatever it is. I'm a professional, right? I have two that I need to finance. But this one is just different. So sometimes I usually joke that maybe it's the number two that you are just different. I don't know whether that is. So, usually,
Yeah.
usually,
Second child.
yes. And if you try to, they're just different. So a lot of people when they have problems, they say it's number two, you see there's something different. So just do your own,
Yeah.
just do your own thing,
Yeah.
and make sure you are successful. Just focus on that.
Yeah. Okay. And the other one.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yusuf, for a
welcome.
wholesome conversation around succession planning. In answering your question, I'll take it from where she left off. The most important thing is doing your thing and making sure you're successful at it, which is what Dr. Yusuf said. If it is generating money, they're interested. But doing your thing, you must not lose sight of what you're trying to do. You are not leaving them to run their thing. Okay? We know that inoculation is no longer fashionable. So that's why we hide it. It's not that we don't inoculate. So we are subtle in our approach. It's not that we no longer inoculate. So you must be conscious of learning more. When you're trying, for example, I've recently had to have conversations around career choice, which was what she was talking about. When you're trying to make career choices, you are telling them what you want them to do. They are telling you what they want to do. You are not forcing anybody, but you bring your strong reasons. And then you also, you're not being arbitrary, it's not emotional. You have a reason for saying what you're saying. So bring life stories. The same way we have examined the Dangote people. Look at everybody. When they see this is what works, they know it is what works. They don't want you to force them. It's a Gen Z and Gen Alpha issue. They want it to be their decision. And if you're Alpha, you know how to make somebody think it's their decision when you make a decision for them. So you must continue to help them make decisions, but they must always think they opted for it. Also, in generational business building, it doesn't matter whether the person is interested in finance, or the person is artistic, or he just wants to dance. What they need to know is how to run a business. They will learn that in school. They will not get it as a part of their career training. They will ask for Yusuf. After years of practicing medicine, you now realize that managing hospital has nothing to do with medicine. Exactly. So irrespective of your craft, learn how to handle your business. And it will not matter what the business is in the person that manages business.
Okay.
While you were talking, I was remember some hospitals in Lagos. I just
Yes.
So yes, I think a lot of people doesn't have entrepreneurship
Yes.
training. Yes, and I think a lot of people think that only their immediate their children have to be the business and sort of insisted that they have to, and they didn't look at some other people around them that could also get involved in the business and probably have profit sharing or something, and a sense of involvement. I think that is probably what killed those businesses, because the buildings are still there. They don't share that as now after years of being abandoned, it's now a shortcut, the whole building. And there's so many examples like that in Nigeria. I think we should look at that.
Yes.
I think it also depends on
and those that said that they chose it's their own, they've been working for years.
Okay.
And they're doing their own thing.
All right. Thank you. So thank you.
Because when I was growing up, like our family had canteen, and I was not even going up to say I would go to school and study canteen. They indirectly have grown up and we really love.
That's why I said, Dr. Lamte says that the two should be you are around it.
Yes. So and now my younger baby, she just told me, don't have unnecessary interest in canteen and all. She said, Daddy, environment.
Yeah.
And I can say now, I always tell people that I know the easiest business that I know I will not lose.
Canton. Because you grew around it. So that's the thing. We also should not separate our kids or our children from the business. They should be around, like Mrs. Carson said, at the end of the day, they learn how to run a business. You understand? Children are different. Their interests might be different, but we slowly guide them, and they find a way to find their expressions still within the business. It might just be another branch. It's still the same business. And I think I'll just add, I think that's what we said. One of the best ways to also mentor our kids, because they are watching. Some of the things that we'll try now is to help them to start to wake up early and to start to observe some of the things. It might not be literally what you do, because I struggled for many years because I didn't have that culture of waking up early and observing anything in the morning. So the idea is let them wake up and observe some things in the morning. So they are used to waking up early and observing things in the morning. So, and then we start to add, if you probably won't tell, so my 10-year-old probably write 1 or 2 affirmations only. You understand? Not the entire, but you can layer, you can layer on that later. So just give some things that you can layer on. Wake up early, observe these things. Wake up early. The day to now tell you these are the things, 5 things you must do in the morning, it's easier because you're already waking up early. And then, of course, they wake up and see you do those things. You wake up earlier, they wake up much later, but there's a part of what you're doing that they watch you do. And then, so most times they just watch you. And then the luxuries that will come, the basic needs, there's a way to also communicate that this thing that I'm building or we're building is what's affording this thing. And what we're trying to do such that this will always enjoy these things. You understand? You get what I'm trying to say? And then they come. So some are lucky that you're in business where they want to join you. Sometimes they want to come and go into theater. You can't enter the theater. Do you understand? They want to. The best is when nothing is happening, come around and see what goes. Just whatever interests them as part of the business and all that. And that's why sometimes I want to take them to school. They need to wake up. We need to go early. They tell themselves, please, we can't allow, daddy has surgery, so he needs to get to work. You understand what I'm trying to say? They're part of all that conversations, whatever we do. I think that's what we try to do. So thank you. I think we'll move on to the next. All right. I think you can talk about everything.